E.T. and Uncle Jasaneb. My name is Adrian Jones, a studier of Kemetics and ancient African society and culture, and of course religion. Um, what I want to do is just start to bring some excerpts uh, from the ancient Kemetic religion, so to speak, or lifestyle. We'll call it a lifestyle, and just kind of express some things to you so that you can have a medium between the debates and a lot of the propaganda and the drama that goes on YouTube, and just kind of have a happy medium and be able to look at some old elements of ancient African religion and ancient Kemetic religion and ancient lifestyle and ancient ways without too much knuckleheadism, if you will, so to speak. Um, what I'm going to do today is just kind of read an excerpt. This is one particular translation of the history of creation. And there are several creation stories. What I'm going to do is start with Khepera. Khepera, because though there are religious creation stories that date further back than this particular story, this is one of the prominent ones for the ancient Kemites, or as you would call Egyptians, uh, that stuck and that kind of laid some groundwork, if you will. This is a translation, by the way. I'm not reading the actual uh, uh, Medunetter that's written on the wall in ancient Kemet. But here's one of the translations, and we'll just go. So, for those who have never heard the story of Khepera, this is a particular translation, and I'm going to share it with you. I'm just going to read it. The book of the book of knowing the evolutions of Ra and overthrowing the Pep is where this comes from. Let's begin. Pardon the camera movement. I am he who came into being in the form of the god Khepera. I am the creator of that which came into being. That is to say, I am the creator of everything which came into being. Now the things which I created and which came forth out of my mouth, after that I had come into being myself, were exceedingly many. The sky or heaven had not come into being. The earth did not exist, and the children of the earth and the creeping things had not been made at that time. I myself raised them up from out of new, from a state of helpless inertness. Let's go further. I found no place whereon I could stand. I worked a charm upon my own heart or will. I laid the foundation of things by Mot, and I made everything which had form. I was then one by myself, for I had not emitted from myself the god Shu, and I had not spit out from myself the goddess Tefnut, and there existed no other who could work with me. I laid the foundation of things in my own heart, and there came into being multitudes of created things, which can which came into being which came into being from the created things, which were born from the created things, which arose from what they brought forth. I had union with my closed hand, and I embraced my shadow as a wife, and I poured seed into my mouth, and I sent forth from myself issue in the form of the gods Shu and Tefnut. Saith my father knew, my eye was covered up behind them. Shu and Tefnut, that is, that's who he's speaking of. But after two periods had passed from the time when they departed from me, from being one God, I became three gods, and I came into being in the earth. Then Shu and Tefnut rejoiced from out of the inert watery mass wherein they I were. And they brought to my eye the sun. Now after these things I gathered together my members, and I wept over them, and men and women sprang into being from the tears which came forth from my eye. And when my eye came to me, and found that I had made another eye in place where it was, the moon, in text, so you know the other eye he's talking about, it was worth with or it was wroth with me, or raged at me, if you will. It was wroth with me. It was upset that there was another eye. Whereupon I endowed with some of the splendor which I had made for the first eye, and I made it to occupy its place in my face, and henceforth it ruled throughout all this earth. When there fell on them their moment through plant-like clouds, I restored what had been taken away from them, and I appeared from out of the plant-like clouds. I created creeping things of every kind, and everything which came into being from them. Shu and Tefnut brought forth Seb and Nut, and Seb and Nut brought forth Asar and Heru, and Kent and Mati, and Set and Aset, and Nephthys, at one birth, one after the other, and they produced their multitudinous offspring on this earth. This is part of the first creation story. So as you look at it, if you break the pieces down, pardon me, ear is itching. I'm a grappler and I get cauliflower ear. But if you look at this story, you're talking about Khepera creating himself into being. After he creates himself, he begins to create other items. When he creates these other items, Khepera himself states that these items are part of him. So he became three instead of one. Now we know, because he says he handled business with his own hand and his shadow, and put it in his mouth and began to spit these things out, or speak them as words, that these items are not physically him, but they endure with his essence, and they can only exist because of him, and they can only exist through him, and nothing else can exist without him. So for those of you, and I'll take you to a few different religions just to kind of correlate. If you look at what they say in Buddhism, or if you look at what they say in Hinduism, uh, we are all one. We are all connected. Technically, that would be true. If we look at Tawheed and the oneness of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when they say you are created from God, this is God's house, He's created this house, but He is not that house physically. That would be true in this statement as well, because you are a created thing from Him that He may have spit up, or whatever the case. In this particular creation story, He either spoke you as a word or spit you out, or cried you as a tear. Okay? And you are all unified, because we are all part of Khepera. But we are not physically Khepera in the exact form. We are the essence of Khepera, which is why you can say you are part of Khepera, but you shouldn't run around screaming stuff like, I'm Khepera, I'm Ra, because you are just a form of Him. This is why they put God in the lower sense, and when they speak of Ra himself, they put that in the capital sense. Lowercase gods you may be, big capital Ra you are not, just a part, a form, and a created form at that. That's all for today. We appreciate your time. Uncle Josh and Ev. Talk to you soon.